Hello and welcome. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're joining us on this special interview on NewsX. We're in conversation today with actor Vivaan Shah. Vivaan, welcome. Thank you for being with us.
How are you doing, Uday? So good to see you.
Absolutely. Likewise, doing very well. A happy new year to you. And
Happy New Year.
What a happy new year it has been, Vivaan, with the release of Ikkis and,
Seriously.
of course, the praise that you're
Seriously.
getting for it. Firstly,
Seriously, man.
how's been the response and what's the feeling for you now?
Oof, immense gratitude, a sense of being almost overwhelmed and almost not being able to know how to process it. It's almost like it's kind of hila diya hai thoda sa.
Uh,
In the sense of that is just that this kind of adulation almost makes one scared a little bit thoda sa. That it's almost kind of like overwhelming in a wonderful way. But
yeah.
there's just a sense of like it almost makes one a little nervous and a little completely just as well just processing everything and absorbing it still.
Hmm.
It's been many years since I've been part of such a significant film,
Yeah.
which has been so widely seen,
Yeah.
and that's what I think. That's what's the overwhelming part of it is that sometimes it's crazy. Like every time I get into my lift in my building, the uncle and auntie from the seventh floor tell me, "Vivan, we loved your film." Even
Uh,
if they haven't seen it yet, they'll be like, "Oh, you know what? My uncle in Shimla loved the film." So
yeah.
it's like everybody is just I'm still just not being able to. I'm still kind of gobsmacked. I'm
Yes,
just kind of
yes.
like
It's sinking in. It's sinking in, I'm sure.
it's
But
sinking
what's
in.
what's what's one thing that stayed with you, for your performance in particular, that you may have heard from someone, from the industry or your family or your friends or the wider audience or critic? What stayed with you?
With the one thing, I think the biggest compliment that I could receive, firstly, was from the daughters of Captain Vijendra Malotra,
Hmm.
Ronak and Reshma, who both reside in Bombay. And they were very kind and generous in their comments towards me and my performance and their blessing. I really got their ashirwad,
Yeah.
as it were, for playing this character. That for me is the greatest reward. And secondly, when we had gone for the army screening, the army premiere in Delhi, where 800 army officers had visited, and the Raksha Mantri came,
Hmm.
the chief of army staff was present,
Hmm.
and gave a startling and wonderful, beautiful address at the end of the screening.
Hmm.
And it was truly the most mind blowing thing was that day I met war veterans who had served under Captain Vijendra Malotra, who were part of his tank crew. They came up to me and told me that they appreciated my performance. I mean,
Yes.
that is really something else, man. I don't know how to process that. I don't even know if I'm worthy of such a compliment. I think
Yeah.
like
But how was
really,
that for you? Playing a real person,
real life
someone who,
character.
of course, yeah, has been there, has done these heroic feats in 1971. For you, how was that playing a real person? Does that put additional pressure on you? Does that involve more research as well into his real life and possibly what you could gather about him? What is it like playing a real person for
Absolutely. Playing a real person comes with an immense sense of responsibility and almost a sort of, there's almost like a journalistic ethic which one needs to follow,
you?
right? Because, there's the interesting delineation between fiction and non-fiction.
Yes.
And you deal with facts, you deal with non-fiction in the world of journalism. And we sometimes deal with the world of fiction, which is the
Mhm.
plane of the imagination and
Mhm.
that sort of thing. But out here, what the real responsibility was to convey the essence and to authentically portray him. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to get it 100% right.
Mhm.
There will have to be some margin for error and inaccuracy
Mhm.
because I never met him. And I was able to study his photographs and I was able to study the facts and information that I received about him.
Okay.
But I really feel that in such a case, one has to go with one's intuition about what one understands about the character one is playing. And in this case, certainly, I feel that there was a wonderful synthesis or union of the world of nonfiction, which I just spoke of, and the world of fiction. Is
Mhm.
because where the imagination comes in is to fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
Because with our research, we can gather the hard facts, we can understand the nuts and bolts of who the character is.
Mhm.
But the things that we do not know, there we let our gut instinct sort of guide us. And
Yes.
also, there, my father's older brother, General Zabiruddin Shah,
Mhm.
fought in the Battle of Longewala in
Okay.
1971, and which is the battle that Border was based on. Border One was
Yeah.
based on. Yeah, and he was on Camelback, 185 light Camelback.
Okay.
And I remember as a kid seeing at his house in Raksha Bhavan when he was posted there in Delhi, I seeing a portrait of him from the Battle of Longewala, like a painting which someone had made of him on camelback
Wow.
during the battle. Yeah, and so you know what? I actually based my character a great deal of it on my Chacha
Okay.
in terms of the body language, the mannerisms, the way of speaking, the expression, the intensity, and the dynamism of his eyes and of his entire demeanor and his expression, and also his way of speaking. There's a very clipped way that army people have sometimes of speaking.
Yes.
There's a kind of terseness and an intensity of tone which they have to their voice and to their way of communication. And that for me was a fascinating thing. Yeah, that was really I was able to, and also my father's first cousin Veer Ahmad Shah was a part of the armored corps.
Okay.
So who I call Bobby Chacha, he actually didn't fight in the 71 war because he was commissioned in 72 right after the war got over, and he was part of the 72 73 armored regiment, and so he was a tank commander. And so I was able to draw from him as well. But he has a very different kind of body language and demeanor than General Zoom, as he's affectionately called. Zavir Chacha is called General Zoom in defense circles.
Yes,
but I
yes,
actually
I've heard
based
that.
it more on General Zoom.
Okay.
And I think you know Saira Baji, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely, absolutely. Saran,
That's right.
we've had the pleasure of having General Shah as well on our shows as well, on our
That's
channel.
right. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Exactly. I just remembered. That's
Yes,
right. That's right.
yes.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So
Okay.
yeah, exactly. So I really based it a lot on General Zoom,
Okay.
and also Uday being a big movie buff and especially a war movie buff. I've grown up watching the films of the war films and the action films of the 50s and 60s and the 40s, and you know what, the actors who appeared in those films, whether it be Charles Bronson, James Coburn, Clint Eastwood, Lee Van Cleef, Lee Marvin, Robert Ryan, Aldo Ray, all these guys, these guys were all real war vets. Yeah, they were all hardened war veterans who had become actors. So the craggy features, the landscape
We're all
of
drawn
face,
from reality. Yes.
they all served in World War II, boss. Everybody. I mean, that just goes to show you what a different time it was. Now, all those guys also they were playing soldiers and officers in films, and they had actually been soldiers and officers in real life.
True. And आप कह रहे थे कि they have a certain way of speaking, but they have a certain way of dressing as well, which is why I think you got the scarf and that the cravat and all of that as well, which I did notice. But how did the film now come your way, Vivaan? And what appealed to you most about it? Was it working with Sriram Raghavan, who of course such acclaimed director? Was it Arun Khetarpal and the other 1971 hero stories? What was it that appealed to you, and how did the film come your way?
All of the above, all of the above. It was a dream come true to work with Sriram sir, and also to work with Agastya, who I really love so much, and also Dharamji and Jaideep sir. It was really a dream come true to work with all of the artists that are a part of this film. And it's a funny story about how this film came my way. You will not believe it. It borders on the absurd. It's something which is almost like Providence got me this project. So because of the way I look, I don't really get considered for these kinds of roles. Army officer, tank commander, police inspector, gangster. These dynamic kind of roles don't really come my way because I have a very boyish appearance. You know that since school. It's been like that. By the way, me and Uday went to the same school together. And so you've always seen me that I've always, even in school, I used to get teased a lot because I didn't look like tough and, rugged and that sort of thing. So, so that's like kind of been a bit of an albatross around my neck, which I've had to wear all these years. And funnily enough, I would have probably not ordinarily got considered for this role.
Yeah.
Now, what happened was there was another Vivaan who lives abroad who had been messaging Sriram sir for 2-3 years, and Sriram sir had been talking to him on WhatsApp, thinking it's me.
Oh.
So he thought like I'm the one who's like, like messaging him, asking for a role or whatever. जो भी है, अपने school में we used to have a term called scoping.
Which is basically manifesting. Yeah, scoping or manifesting.
Which is basically it's like if you wanted to join the football team, you'd go up to like the master in charge of football, like, sir, please just try me out. Let me show you what I'm capable of. Kind of. The film industry is very analogous to boarding school. There's a lot of similarities. So basically, I mean, there's nothing wrong with scoping. Okay, उसमें कोई शर्म की बात बिल्कुल नहीं है. But थोड़ा सा मैं शर्माता हूँ. From doing it a little bit. So I.
पर दूसरा विवान नहीं शर्माता. Good for you.
God bless him. Thank you, the other Vivaan. If you're listening, I owe this to you completely in a crazy way. So this other Vivaan had been messaging Sriram sir for 2-3 years, and Sriram sir had been conducting a correspondence with him on WhatsApp, thinking that it's me. Finally, the penny dropped, and he realized that it's not me. So he told his people, जो असली विवान शाह है उसको बुलाओ. And that's how I got the
That's how
role.
it happened.
Because and I
Right.
proved myself because again,
Yeah.
when I met them, obviously I lacked what is known of as an OLQ, officer like quality.
Yeah.
So I in my audition where I really prepared for it, I put on an army jacket and a sort of military bag, and I really went all out in terms of the audition. It was almost like a method audition, literally. And I really inhabited the character fully, and I managed to nail the audition, and I got the role. Yeah, as simple as that.
Okay.
Crazy, no?
Lovely,
Crazy.
lovely. And do you hope now that this is, as you said, this boyish looks of yours, unfortunately, you get typecast, in the industry,
Yeah.
and the industry does typecast. It's a reality. Are you hoping now that that changes with this project?
Yes. I'm hoping it changes, and I'm also hoping that we can do something innovative within that boyish look. Like, something, use that boyish look in an interesting manner.
Yeah.
That would also be something which I would love to do.
Yeah.
Is like there was like, for instance, there was a gangster in the 1930s during the Prohibition era of Al Capone. There was a gangster called Babyface Nelson. So I'd love to play a character like that.
Okay.
Who's a
Okay.
baby face, but who's actually like a full, gangster.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned that a lot is imbibed from your uncle General Shah, have they seen the projects? Have your uncle seen the
I
project?
have not. He is currently on vacation. Both
Okay.
Meera Shah and him both are on vacation. They haven't seen it as
Okay.
yet. I'm waiting to hear from them.
Yeah, yeah. Given the fact that we'll follow up with you to get their response as well and put it out to our audiences. But coming back now to your co-stars, how was it like?
Yeah.
Firstly, working with Agastya, someone new. Obviously, you're a senior on the screen. Were you on your senior in industry as well? So did you give him a few tips? Did you teach him a few things about the trade? You worked with his uncle as well before, and
Yes.
interestingly, in Happy New Year, which I
Yeah.
wished you at the start. You're also
Yes.
working now with Dharmender ji in his last project. This is his swan song, and it was so lovely seeing him on screen. So how was
Yeah.
that also? Was that emotional for you on
Very
set and then
emotional.
watching it as well after?
Very, very, very emotional for me and for my dad. And I didn't have to teach Agastya anything. I didn't have to give him any tips. Let me tell you, I was exactly his age when I worked with his Mamu. And I
Okay.
was not half as evolved and mature and as him at that age. He has a stellar command over his craft. He's already a fully formed actor at 25, just 2 films old. He has such magnificent command over his craft and such magnificent understanding as an actor. He is a very thoughtful actor. He's also very hardworking, which goes without saying because we all know the kind of effort he's put into this role. He's actually gone and done a full-fledged NDA training, which, I mean, very few human beings would be able to endure that. I mean, that really goes to show his internal toughness.
Yeah.
He is a person with he's a man of substance. He's a person who has a lot of steel in him, and also the fact that he's an actor who is an extraordinarily innovative actor. Like, he comes up with some very interesting ideas and interpretations of the text, and also how to execute them. Because unlike me, see, I'm a theater actor. I basically pre-plan everything, I premeditate it, and I execute it when the camera's rolling. Agastya does do the same. He does his due diligence, he does his preparation, he rehearses a lot. But when the camera rolls, he keeps one half of himself open to, I don't know, open to miracles, open to the throbbing, breathing, passing moment,
Right.
open to coincidence, to accident, to anything. And that is a very special feature of Agastya as an actor, from which I actually learned.
Okay.
And that's the thing, you can actually learn sometimes from someone who's younger than you.
Yeah.
And with Dharamji, I think basically, my father, who grew up he was a teenager in the 1960s. My father grew up watching Dharamji on the big screen, and he really sort of worshipped him. He was like a screen idol for my father. And for him to see Dharamji do such a beautiful, emotional, and powerful role, and to express such a profound and beautiful sentiment, that for my father was very cathartic. And the great Jaideep Elawat, what an experience working with him, was just extraordinarily special. I'm a huge fan of his.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how much his work means to me. And everybody else, Sriram sir, who is a genius, and it was a dream come true to work with him. It's really it's miraculous that I got to work with him. It's a godsend. I really feel it's a ऊपर वाले की blessing है इसमें. And Sriram sir, I'm a student of his cinema. I've really grown up watching his films and also rewatching his films. I watch them again and again. Like, my favorite one being Merry Christmas.
Of course.
But I also have immense affection for an immense love for all of his films, going from Ek Hasina Thi. Let's go chronologically. You start with Ek Hasina Thi, Johnny Gaddar, then Agent Vinod, Badlapur,
Badlapur, yeah.
Andhadhun,
Yeah.
and then Merry Christmas, and now Ikkis, and there's also
Amazing.
two films of his which are, yeah,
And also diverse from the other. Now you were speaking
so
about theater.
versatile,
Yeah, you were
so
speaking about
versatile, yeah.
theater just now, Vivan, and of course your background in theater and that theater method of acting that you bring to films as well. That's also something that you've straddled along. You're doing OTT, you're doing, of course, films, but theater, pehla pyar,
Yeah.
wo
Pehla
you
Pyar.
make it a point to carry on doing plays as well, even if you're busy filming
Absolutely.
projects.
I just opened a play a couple of days ago in Bombay, which I had written and directed. And theater is an integral part of our life. It really is. It is I would say it's the lifeblood, theater, for our family. For me, it really is something that has given us all immense meaning in our lives. It is something that's been very, very important. I'm at a loss for words about to describe what this place theater holds in our lives. I think everything we owe to the theater. I'm here because of the theater,
Mm.
and the theater is, I think, as we go forward in a very digital and technological kind of world, and I think there will be a need in the audience, in the public, and in society for theater, for a live performance, which is not something that one sees on a screen
Mhm.
or experiences through technology, where it's an exchange of energies between human beings. That's one of the most special things about any kind of live performance, whether it be a live concert or live theater as well.
Mhm.
And that for me is one of the beautiful things about theater,
Yes.
is that there's an immense give and take between audience and
Yeah,
artist.
that can't be replaced by anything else.
That
Absolutely.
can't be
Now
replaced
you
by,
spoke
it's a
about
singular medium.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you spoke about how you've written this plays well. That's also something that you've continued. Your writing, and it's not just plays, but novels as
Books.
well. Books.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think I think poetry as well. So
No
it,
poetry.
no poetry.
Only in
Okay,
school. Only in school
only in
and very
school.
bad poetry at that.
तो छोड़ दिया भाई तो छोड़ दिया भाई
वो तो भाई
but
जो हमारी बस की बात नहीं है वो.
but writing and becoming an author, was that just organic, or is that just something that happened,
Organic.
and do you plan to
No,
continue
that was
that?
organic. वो तो एक बचपन की इच्छा थी.
Hmm.
School में भी, there we all used to write short
Yeah.
stories for the weekly, and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. And I think that Kida probably got born in school of writing. And also before that in Bombay, before I joined school, I used to draw a lot. I used to make comic books, and there was always an artistic pursuit. You see, I think it's very important for every individual to have something which occupies the mind and body when they come back home from work.
Mhm.
So it's like that vocation and avocation wali baat hai almost.
Mm.
It's like what one does in one's spare time
Yeah.
almost determines who one is, really.
Yeah.
Right? So acting in films is my vocation, is where I earn my bread and butter, and also where every once in a while, like in the case of Ikkis, I also get my art from there.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful union and synthesis where you can also earn a living and also get artistic satisfaction that happens very rarely. In a film like Ikkis, it happened. In a film like Saatkur Maaf, Happy New Year, Court, In Galiyon Mein. For these films, it happened. It doesn't happen every time, you see. And so really that was a that's a very special thing. That I am able to, in my spare time, pursue my interests, and they're more than a hobby. They would call them a calling, almost a sort of a passion project, as it were.
Yeah.
And really, I feel that that's something which is, it's not just important for me, but I think it's important for everyone here, because there's a lot of uncertainty in our profession. As an actor, now there's a lot of time when there's a fallow period, when you're not getting work, you're not doing too well. What do you do to make up to occupy oneself? That, if I could just pass on that little, I mean, wouldn't say advice. I don't want to give advice, but little
No, but
message to the
it's good
audience.
advice. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That that's very important for youngsters who are finding their footing and who are maybe confused, trying to settle on an art form, on what to do. Whether you want to do music, you want to do painting, you want to do writing, acting, directing, jo bhi hai, whatever you find an art form which you can do in your spare time without spending anybody else's time and money.
Okay. Yeah, true.
For instance, if exactly, like, suppose I'll tell you what. Suppose agar, like, see, a medium like theater or a medium like film requires physical resources.
Yeah.
A medium like prose or literature, all you need is a pen and a piece of paper. So I find that very liberating here.
Yeah.
That
and
that
you can do it whenever,
to...
absolutely, whenever and wherever. Yeah, it's a good piece of advice.
Exactly.
Okay, now 2026 has of course started on a great note for you. How's the rest of the year looking? Any projects that are lined up for you that you can share with us, or something interesting that's in the works?
So this year, there's a lovely project with Sudhir Mishra ji called Summer of '76, which is going to be coming out in on Sony Live, I think, towards the end of this year. and that is a very special project. No, towards the end of the year, kya bol raha hu? Sorry, towards the end of the month.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
Jan or Feb May it's going to probably come out. It's a beautiful show, yaar, Uday. I think you'd
Lovely.
really like it. It's about the student protests of the 1970s.
Okay.
I think what is known of as the JP movement, Jayaprakash Narayan, and
Yeah.
it's a very fascinating slice of Indian history, which we're not very aware of,
Yeah.
of post-independence history.
Mhm.
Oftentimes post-independence history is not as emphasized as different periods of our history,
Mhm.
and this is so many things that I learned.
Mhm.
So many things that I learned. In fact, an ex-Tosco was telling me that during the JP movement, the time of George Fernandez and the labor strikes and everything, someone had come to school to enlist people from school in
Wow.
the cause and in the movement.
Okay.
So it was a very profound. I think it
Yeah.
was the single largest on-scale rebellion that has happened on Indian soil since independence.
Amazing. Okay. Fascinating. So that's something lined up next. So watch
That's
this
something
space
like
for
that.
more. Vivan will be back on OTT this time with that project. Finally, now you spoke about your projects which have given you the most fulfillment passionately. You also mentioned Shriram Raghavan ji's favorite films of yours. So ab end mein let's pin you down and ask you to tell us your favorite Nasiruddin Shah and Ratna Pathak Shah film separately.
Films.
Nasir Saab first and then
So
Ratna.
okay, so for Baba, it's definitely Jalwa.
Mhm.
एल्बर्ट पिंटो को गुस्सा क्यों आता है, त्रिदेव, स्पर्श, मासूम, and many others. I don't know where there's so many others. I could go on listing them, but these are the five that come to mind
Okay.
immediately. For my mother, there's a film called Encounter the Killing, which is a Marathi film, and also done in Hindi.
Mhm.
And then also Kapoor and Sons, Lipstick Under My Burqa.
Yeah.
Um, many, yeah, so many. These are the three which immediately spring to mind.
And
But
I will add my favorite Sarabhai versus Sarabhai, which is why
Sarabhai
that
versus Sarabhai, of
which is why it
exactly.
was so emotional losing Satish Shah as well last year.
Exactly, yeah. And also Kutch Express, which is a lovely Gujarati film which she did last year. Kutch
Okay.
Express is also one of my favorite performances of hers. It's a
Okay.
really beautiful, beautiful film, and many others here. Like
Okay. Lovely, lovely, fantastic.
lovely.
Well, thank you, and let's hope your filmography also keeps growing. And with each passing year, congrats on Ikkis
Thank
and the
you.
praise for it, Vivan, and wishing you all the very
Thank you
best
so much.
for your next project
Thank
as well.
you. Lovely speaking with you, brother, and so good to see you. Hope to see you again soon.
Thank you.